I often run across people today who for some reason, don't think that they can do the business of real estate. And then I relate to my story. I'm 35 years old. I'm working in a service station. I have no retirement. I have no bank account. My wife is not working. It's just me. I have no previous education. I had to struggle to get through the 12th grade. I have no formal training whatsoever. And yet somehow I came from that to where I am today. And I look at all of the excuses people come up with on why they can't do it. And I often tell my students, there's only one way you can get good at anything. First, you gotta suck. So if you qualify for there, you're in the right position. Suck first, get better every day. Next thing you know, you're the expert. And it really don't make any difference what business you're in, the same thing is going to apply.
Well, good morning. You're on the last day. So today I'm going to cover exit strategies, and I'm also going to cover how you sell a house on a lease purchase anyway, and avoid the banks, and get in and get out as fast as you possibly can. So before I do that, God, we got a couple hundred people on here today that weren't here yesterday or the day before. Somehow got the message late. You're not too late, and this is the last time we'll bring it up. You have to get this VIP package because it's got all the recordings of what we're doing here, including the question and answer sessions, which many of you did not get to listen to, and all the questions on the board. Monthly conference calls, 30-minute planning session. And again, that's not a sales call. That is literally you and the coach deciding, what's best for you and time frame and cost going forward, and all works. And there's a 90-minute online training in terms of business, which I do. And 90 minutes there. I couldn't take 15 minutes on here. Fast track. Now that is a half a day seminar. Goes all the way through the steps of doing both kinds of deals, ugly and pretty. And then there's the $1 million scripts. They're worth $1 million if you use them, because they will make you $1 million in short order. And then my entire IRA course on how to do all your real estate stuff tax-free, not tax-deferred, tax-free for the rest of your life, and why it's so important that you go do everything you can tax-free instead of paying the government taxes that they legally allow you to get out of. And I don't even know if I mentioned it or not, but you're also going to get a 30-day free trial of our Dreams Pro system. So you get the email on it. Nick, can you got any idea of when they're going to get notified of that? And they got to sign up, right?
Yeah, it actually happens immediately. So when you go to the VIP order form there at ronlegrand.com/VIP, there'll be an option right there on the order form for you to sign up for the trial if you want to. And it's a 30-day trial. You can cancel anytime, but we don't think you're going to want to. Once you see everything that Dreams does, you'll definitely want to have that as part of your business.
Speaking, go ahead.
And it just starts immediately. So you'll get a access email right away when you submit your form. And we also have a training on Dreams next month. We're doing a 3-day masterclass with Adel and Ron, and they're going to go through Dreams, exactly, everything that it does. We covered a little bit of it on day 2 of this masterclass, so you'll get those recordings as well. So you can jump right in, and then we, of course, have a whole library of information in the membership, so that, like on the subscription site, so that you can figure out how to do anything you need to do.
And you are going to be invited to this training, whether you have Dreams Pro or not at that point. Be nice if you get it today, and then you can be playing with it, and your questions will be more valuable once you are playing with it and figured out what you need help with. Make sure you write them down, though. Don't try to memorize them. So my boot camp, I'm doing one in January, another one in February. And I gave you guys a really, really, really good deal to get into this thing. And it's half price at $29.95. It truly is. Ask somebody that got in January or February, because it's half price, didn't start till somewhere around March. And I'm going to give you back your dues for VIP. So if you did sign up or you sign up today, you can take $149 credit back off the $29.95, and that's per couple. That includes husband and wife, or a mom or dad or a child, or anybody in your business. And you can bring a second one if you want. It's $500 to bring the second one. And I don't think I told you, you can use up to 500 Gold Club points to buy it. Up to 500 Gold Club points to buy it. And you can finance it in-house. Now, I'm not going to check your credit. So call in and get the facts on this. The sooner you get in this boot camp, the sooner your career in real estate investing is going to start. Because I'm teaching the basics there. And again, we're calling your leads live while you're watching. We go through front to back, ugly houses, pretty houses, and all my scripts and all my special paragraphs that I wrote up to save you a ton of money. And I promise you this, you will pay for this boot camp, whether you joined or not. Because if you don't get here, I'll guarantee you the first time you write a contract on a house, you're going to wind up paying for this boot camp, but you won't even know it. So that's the good part. You won't even know it. So you don't have to feel bad about it because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So it's in your best interest to come learn how to do this business instead of wondering if you're doing it right. And at the boot camp, you'll have a chance to get a one-on-one mentor if you want, and they'll be with you for 6 months, forcing you to go get checks. All right, John, I'm ready. Exit strategies. We're going to play with some numbers. All right. Of course, if you're going to wholesale a house, you're probably not going to wholesale a house. You're probably going to assign the contract, which is kind of the same thing, but it's not the same thing. I told you yesterday that I know of 3 states where you have to have a real estate license to assign a contract, but there is no state that won't allow you to buy a property and quickly sell it the same day if you want to. In fact, you don't even have to bring into the money if you work it correctly. You put up a deposit, and most states, the closing agent can close it. Now, their money is going to be from the buyer. Their money will be in the buyer to buy the house. I mean, in the account to buy the house. But each state has their own rules. So you might want to talk to an attorney or a good title company to see if you can actually do a quick flip without having to put the money in the account. And don't forget, if you're in one of those states, which is Illinois, Oklahoma, and Pennsylvania, as far as I know, then you cannot assign a contract without a real estate license. Now look, here's what you can do. You can take your phone out and you can ask Siri. She's not listening. That's good. Do I need a real estate license to wholesale houses in whatever state you're in? And be careful with the answer, though, because it's only illegal to flip a contract, sign a contract. Listen to their answers very closely and word for word and make sure it says you cannot sign in a contract, because I don't think most of the people don't know the difference between wholesaling and assigning a contract. It's all wholesaling, but assigning a contract is what they are after. And if you don't assign a contract, which if you close on it, if you sell it directly to the buyer, you're signing a contract. But if you buy it first, which you'll need private money for, or you pay for it out of your pocket because you're going to get the money back in an hour, whichever you can do. If you have trouble with that, let us know, and I'll help you figure out a solution. Also, don't forget, you can buy wholesale houses anywhere in the country. So if it's too big of a pain in the state where you live, you don't have to buy them in the state where you live. And I'm not saying you have to go out of state. Everything's done virtually nowadays. And that's where most of the wholesale deals are done, on the internet. All right. Rehab and retail. I've been doing both of these things for over 40 years now. And I promise you, I've rehabbed at least 1,000 houses. I'm still doing it. Got one right now. I got 2 right now. One I rehabbed and one I bought already rehabbed that are on the market right now. The one that I bought already rehabbed, I bought it on terms. That's the house I showed you. In fact, I think I'm going to show it to you again today. The one I retail, I paid cash for it, and then had a rehab. So I still do these things. I may sound like I'm poo-pooing rehabbing houses. I'm not, but there are advantages and disadvantages. Remember, when I rehab that house and get that check, I'm done. I don't get another dime out of that house going forward, like I do the other house I got, where I'm putting a tenant buyer in it, and I'll keep getting paid on that house. I think we've already been offered $3,500 a month for that, but they only had $15,000 to put down on a $500,000 house. I told Adel, don't necessarily get rid of them, put them on hold and tell them, if I don't get a buyer by the end of the month, I'll be back to them, kind of thing, because they will pay $3,500 a month, which tells me the market will pay $3,500 over my $2,500. You realize it's $1,000 a month for not doing anything but collecting the rent and depositing it in your bank account. Collecting your rent, making the underlying payment, and putting the rest in your bank account. In this case, that rest is $1,000 on one house. So how fast can you easily take care of your financial needs so that you're making more money every single month passively? Passively is the key, whether you get out of bed or not. It ain't going to take very many of them. So don't forget there's tomorrow. Lease option to the tenant buyers, what I do, if I'm buying with terms, I'll buy it, and then I'll lease it to the tenant buyer. And I got one out there right now. We're going to be doing that with. Sell them with owner financing. I've done several of those in my earlier career. I do not want to do them today because it takes too long to get them back here in Florida if they don't pay. And I do get a personal guarantee on the lease when they sign it. That guarantee is just as good if they borrow the money from the bank. But when I sell with owner financing, I give up depreciation and appreciation. Depreciation and appreciation by themselves can make a person rich. I don't want to give that up. And besides, here it takes 6 months. If I have to evict them, that alone will take about 2 months. But that window starts about 1 month after they quit making payments. So I'm sitting here for 3 months. But as I said, and you'll only understand this when you're out there doing these deals, and until you get your head in the game and get in the game, you're going to be have all kinds of misconceptions. But here in Jacksonville, Florida, it's every bit of 90 days to get them out, even if you have to evict them. But I've never had any problems with tenant buyers who give me several $1,000s before they get in the house, and that number is based on the price of the house. $500,000 houses, I'm on $50,000. I'm telling you, I made up my mind. I'd rather make the payments and leave the house vacant than take less than $50,000. That's my front end payday. Okay, that's what keeps the machine rolling. And I'm not going to give up that money. When I get a nice house in a nice neighborhood, I'm going to get a big deposit. It's just a matter of waiting until somebody comes along and doing enough marketing. By the way, at the end of this talk, I'm going to tell you what to do to get these houses on lease option sold. And you could also move in it. A lot of people come to me and they don't realize they can actually move into one of these houses that they're out there getting terms on if they want to. Now, if you're looking for a house to move into, just go into the nicer neighborhoods, probably based on what you think you can make a payment for, and start marketing in those nice neighborhoods. So you're going to get a house if you stick with it. Then you decide, is this a house I want to live in? If it ain't, then go ahead and sell it and wait for the next one. Because when you buy a house with terms, you're not personally liable for the debt. And I don't want you to ever be personally liable for the debt. And if you're buying with terms, you get a long-term deal with no balloon. You'll have to pay closing costs, but no, you won't have to pay points and that other crap because there is no ownership transfer taking place when you hand a lease option tenant buyer the keys and let them move in. And if and when they ever buy, I write my contract so that whatever closing costs I agreed to pay, I'm passing on to my buyer. So I'm not paying any closing costs except what I'm paying to get in the deal and take title to it. I would much rather buy the house from the seller than lease option the house from the seller. But I can do that, and my spread will be the same. My profit will be approximately the same. and except for the depreciation and the appreciation, of course. So why would I want to give that up? I mean, I collect the same down payment and the same monthly payment where I'm selling it with owner financing, or whether I'm leasing it with an option to buy. That is a decision you're going to have to make. This took me quite a while to understand. The longer you own a house, the more money you'll make. And that is so true. You might want to make a note of that and put it up there in your desk at your home, because we need constant reminders of this stuff. All these things coming at us, all these shiny objects coming at us, it's kind of hard to stay on track. Look, I get that. I know that. And the more of these to remind you how to do it Ron's way. In fact, you need a sign on the wall, got big letters on it. WWRD. What would Ron do? You read that, you might sometimes stop filling out a loan application. Ron's not going to do that. Stop doing this stuff. Stop applying for a loan at the bank. Because my whole game is to help you make a lot of money without putting you at risk. I've learned how to operate this business absolutely risk-free. So the longer you hang around me, the more of that you're going to learn. Because, I've been through the ringer. Some of you know my story. In 2008, wasn't fun. And I learned a lifelong lesson. And what happened in 2008 will be with me for the rest of my life. All because of guaranteed debt. I've done all of those things that we just discussed. Except, I've even done rent. Way back, I just rent houses as well. Today, you are not going to convince me to rent a house. I don't rent them. I lease option them to tenant buyers who have money and can make a higher payment than the market expects. I just don't see why anybody wants to put a tenant in a house, do the repairs for them, and get a measly little deposit up front. No, I'm going to get thousands up front, not hundreds up front. And they're going to do all of the repairs because it's in our agreement. That's exactly what they're going to do. By the way, you'll find a work for equity lease option agreement on the Gold Club under resources, and then just put in lease option, and all kinds of stuff will come up. Got a lot of new people today, and that means that I'm going to talk about some houses that I've already talked about with the rest of you. I hope you'll forgive me. On the other hand, I think it probably does you good to see things over and over and over again, because that's how we learn it. This is the one my personal assistant lives in right now. Bought it in 2014 for the debt, $351, and it was worth $385 then. Today, it's worth about $700,000. I use it for an example of comps in our 4-day class, which I teach you comps. How to get to the comps is extremely important, because most people just don't know how to get to comparable values. And that's pretty important, or you're going to lose money one way or the other. So I didn't take that loan subject to, and I haven't told you what I got against subject to, but I'm not a fan of it. I've done a ton of them, but it has two issues. First issue, if you sell me your house subject to, and I decide I don't want to make any payments, there's not a darn thing you can do to me, because I have not guaranteed any debt. Subject to just means I'm handing you the deed to my house, and you're handing me your papers at the bank, and I'm going to start making payments somewhere time after closing. The loan stays in the seller's name until it's paid off, if it takes years until it's paid off. And there are hundreds of these deals going on around this country every day. So putting the owner in bad shape if you don't pay. Secondly, see that 1925 payment down there? Well, that shows on the seller's credit report, and will stay on the seller's credit report until it's paid off. Now, the seller cannot use that your payment to them if when you put a tenant buyer in a house, he's not going to get a wash. Normally, the amount of rent you get coming in will wash out your debt and eliminate a qualifying process if they want to go to the bank and apply for a loan. So in other words, his debt to income ratio will be lopsided, 19 out, nothing coming in, because the bank's not going to accept the rent you collect on a subject to deal. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. So of course, nobody tells the seller that. No investor is going to sit there and tell the seller the bad news about these things. So I bought this one on a wraparound mortgage. My mortgage amount was $351,000, and right in the note it said that the payments that I make on the principal and interest that I make on the underlying loan. I'm sorry, the principal and interest on the wraparound mortgage to the seller will be the same amount as the principal and interest on the underlying loan. There you go. So every dime I make a payment to the seller's bank, which I didn't pay them direct, I'm getting the same principal pay down as if the loan was in my name. So I buy it on a wrap. Now, if I don't pay, they can foreclose on me. And now they get to count the rent, the payment that I'm paying the seller. The seller gets to count it as income. But only if we buy on a wrap, not if we buy subject to. Okay, that's not going to stop anybody from buying subject to, because it is a lot simpler. The attorney has to create a wraparound mortgage. If it's a wrap, and they don't have to do that. And be honest, I'm telling you, a lot of attorneys do not know how to create a wraparound mortgage. I was shocked myself. They just don't know. The last one I closed on a wrap, I had to help them figure out what goes in it and what don't get in it. And literally, I'm sitting here teaching a closing agent how to write up a wrap. That's why I told you guys yesterday. And if you've been to my quick start school, or if you go, I'm going to be your transaction coordinator. And I want to see your documents going in, your documents going out, and estimates on rehabs. Save you a ton of money. I promise you, I'll save you a ton of money. And, don't convince yourself you're too smart and you don't need me to look at your documents. Look, I ain't charging you a nickel. It doesn't make a lick of sense for you not to send them to me and let them look at it. I promise you, I'll pay for this boot camp probably on your first deal. And the money that I saved you and the mistakes that I prevented for you. So I lease optioned this one out for $395. You notice I raised the amount. I raised it 10 grand 10 years ago. Today I'd raise it more. I've got a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood. It's in excellent condition behind the gate. I was 3 years old when I bought it, so it's only 13 years old now. And I raised the price. I raise the price on everything I sell, whether it be cash out with bank qualifying or lease purchase. You have the right to raise the price. The price is determined by what the buyer is willing to pay and the owner is willing to sell it for, as long as it's not crazy. Okay, $395 is not raising the price really. The realtor trying to get $385, but the realtor is looking for the cash buyer, and I don't know how hard she really worked at it. So I always raise the price, and I almost always get the price. But remember this: when I put a tenant buyer in there, I don't care what it appraises for. It's not my responsibility. When they get ready to buy, if they don't get an appraisal high enough, then we may work something out then. But I'm not obligated to lower my mortgage to whatever appraiser says that it's worth. If I put 10 appraisers against the wall and I gave them all the same assignment, there'd probably be 10 totally different answers. They have a lot of leeway as to, and when I'm talking about a beautiful home in a beautiful neighborhood, they don't have anything to critique. I send them out to a house that needs renovated, then they can pick it apart and they come in with a really low appraisal. They got no reason. Besides, when you send an appraiser out, well, you don't send them out. The bank will send them out. But when the bank sends them out, they know what the sales price of the house is, and they tend to work toward making sure it comes in at least to that value. I don't need an appraisal to lease option a tenant buyer. They don't need an appraisal until they go to a bank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. Option deposit. I got $2,500 a month rent, and I only put tenant buyers in it for 2 years. So that doesn't mean I move them. Went over this yesterday. I'll leave a tenant in the house as long as they live or I live, as long as they keep making the payments, even if they don't exercise their option to buy. 50 grand on one deal without touching the house. I want you to think about that for a minute. 50 grand on one deal just one, without touching the house. We didn't repair anything in the house. We didn't even have to clean up the house. They left it clean. They even left a very expensive washer and dryer in the house. And then they left a big old cabinet that the TV goes in the house. And because I told them they can go ahead and leave it. So you'll find that a lot of people moving out just don't want to handle those heavy appliances and those big, heavy pieces of furniture. They'd rather go buy something else. And sometimes they won't fit where they're going anyway. So I made 50 grand. Compare that to what a rehabber has to do to make 50 grand. And yes, you can spend the entire deposit, which is one big reason why I want that deposit to be big. My friends, that deposit is your only insurance policy against tenants going nuts on you. They get credit for that money, but only as long as they're in the house and only if they buy the house. Totally forfeited if they don't. And they know it clearly. It's in blood on their closing agreement. And the attorney closes it and tells them that. So that's a gift. So, let's just do 2 of these a month. Just do 2 a month, which means you're going to focus in the higher end properties. That's where all your marketing is going to go. That's where your flyers are going to go. Where your door hangers are going to go, and all of the stuff that you can. Just about everything we do to market, well, not everything, but most of it. Literally, we're targeting the marketing to where we want to buy. Now, when I run an ad in the paper or online, that's not going to be easy to do. But do I get to target where I put signs on the side of the road? Yes, I do. Do I get to target where I put the door hangers? Yes, I do. So I'm going to go where I want the deals to be. And now I'm strictly looking for terms. But if I run across a house that looks like needs a total rehab, then make sure I get a hold of that seller. But here's a common sense factor. When you got a $500,000 house, you got an owner that's in a higher income bracket by far than a $200,000 house. The higher price the house, the easier it is to get the big down payments, about 10%. The lower the price, the harder it is to get the big down payments. So if I'm leasing this house and I'm not guaranteeing that rent, which I'm not, I better not catch you guaranteeing the rent on a lease. That's even worse than going down to the bank and borrowing money and giving them a guarantee. Because now you're dealing with a seller, and that seller might, they might be making decisions based on their heart, not their head, because they're mad at you because you're not paying or whatever the problem is. Banks don't have a heart, therefore they're not going to try to get vengeance on me if something goes wrong. So anyway, the higher price you work in, the more money you're going to make. If I do 2 of these a month, you realize that's $1.2 million a year if I don't do anything else. Hello. And that don't even count the monthly payments and all the other goodies that come along with it. And you don't have to bring that money to closing. That kind of confuses some people. You're confusing it with a realtor taking a deposit and putting it in an escrow account, which they're required to do. And in this case, there is no escrow account. And when I get that money, I can do whatever I darn well please with it. One thing you probably shouldn't do with it, though, is go buy stuff. You need to put a part of every time you do a deal and you get a non-refundable option default deposit, some of it ought to be set aside into a separate account, because it's only a matter of time when that house is going to want some of that money back, usually between tenant buyers. You're not going to put a tenant buyer in a house that needs a new HVAC system and needs a roof and it looks bad. So you got to use your brain along the way. This is your asset. You own it. Therefore, it's your responsibility to take care of it. So if your tenant buyer can't put an AC system in it, you're going to have to. And you can't do that if you're broke, which starts a downhill slide. It's one gorilla after another, and one disaster after another, and you have to make chaos decisions because you don't have the money. I'm saying make sure you have the money to pay for things that you haven't thought about right now. When you're in between tenant buyers, you have to clean that house up if they didn't. You got to make it showable. All of this stuff takes money, and lawn's got to be mowed. So don't be taking all the money you get out of it up front and go spending it. Set yourself up an escrow account, and I suggest you put 10% of their deposit in that escrow account, 10%, and forget it's there unless you need it. And in fact, I would suggest to you that you open up a bank account and call it escrow account right on the check. That way you can't forget to put the money in there. And if you don't do that, it's only a matter of time until you wished you had. Then you're going to come back and say, I wish I'd have listened to that old man, Ron LeGrand. By the way, everything I'm telling you not to do, I've done at least 3 times. That house got me a $575 a month spread. And, you know, that's not 1,000, but $575 for basically doing nothing except collecting the rent. I don't even do that. I got a gal that does that for me here. She's an employee of Global Publishing, keeps all the books, gets it ready to go to CPA, and sends it to the CPA. And she also writes the checks. And I know you're going to have this, find this hard to believe, but I don't write the checks, and I don't even okay the checks, and I don't even sign the checks. That is not something that I would suggest you do. Okay. You might remember that these ladies have been with me, some of them over 20 years right now. So I trust them. Plus that, I know where they live. I tell them that from time to time. I know where you live. Now when I get cashed out, I get to keep all the cash above the loan payoff. And it shows yesterday, I started out owing $351. And that loan is down now to below $260,000. And not a penny of it came out of my pocket, so to speak, to pay for that. You know, the tenant pays the rent and I make the mortgage payment. Put whatever's difference in account. I'm going to make you another suggestion as well. You should have ample money in your LLC's bank account. That's where all the money's coming in. You buy in a land trust, all of it can go. The ownership of the land trust goes to the LLC, but the cash will as well. The land trusts don't even have a bank account. They don't need one, so they're not going to handle any money. So I would suggest that you not build your estate so that you have to have that rental income to survive. Whatever you're doing now to make money is good. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I know you're having thoughts about making this a full-time business. I don't blame you for those thoughts, but you better be very careful giving up an existing income in hopes of getting one out of real estate. You don't quit your job until you start getting the money out of real estate and you know it's pretty stable. And it's pretty stable. People give you a bunch of cash and rent the house from you. They ain't the same kind of tenant as normal tenants. Trust me, I've had plenty of normal tenants. I don't want any more. I don't want that deposit to hang over their head so I can control them as long as they're in the house. But again, you don't ever have to give it back, but put some of it in an escrow account. And you'll be proud of what you did, the choice you made when you need money out of that escrow account. But I don't want anybody trying to live on that monthly spread on the properties. Because if you're trying to live on that money, you're not putting anything away to handle the problems when they come, and they will come. They will come. Be prepared for them. So build your business until you got so much money coming in monthly, you feel real safe making a living out of that money and still have money left over to repair the houses when they need it. I just cashed out of a duplex. I mean, not duplex, a townhouse down here and another one down here. Cashed out of both of them. The one I sold down there, I bought for $25,000 at an auction. Don't ask me how many years ago. I don't remember. And a little 2-bedroom townhouse. And it then cost me $25,000 at an auction. And I have 6 tenant buyers in that thing. Somewhere around $30,000 in non-refundable deposits during the time I held it. I don't even know how much cash flow because it actually was in my IRA. And when I put it on the market, that $25,000 townhouse sold for $190,000. God bless real estate. All I did was collect rent. However, what brought that up is I did have to renovate it before I sold it for cash. I mean, it ain't nothing major, but it needed walls painted and new countertop and new flooring, I don't know, about the same thing all houses need. And I think I put 20 grand in that thing just to get it ready to cash out of. And then I listed it with a realtor, which is the way I cash out of everything that I renovated. And look at the difference. Just because I did not sell it. I kept it. And you might be saying, but Ron, you go to an auction, you got to have the money that day. That's true. Most of the time. So how can you buy a house to put in your IRA if in fact you don't have the money in your IRA to buy it? Well, the answer is simple. You get a private lender to put a loan on the house after it's inside your IRA, and borrow plenty of money to buy it and hold it and keep it. You borrow more than you can. That thing was worth about 80 grand when I bought it. I only paid 25 for it. I had room to borrow a bunch of money if I wanted. I didn't. So by the way, I rented that house. I think I told you this. It's 6 different tenants in that house over that period. I can't remember what year it was I bought it. I really don't. And it wasn't no grief at all. All that time, the tenants did any repairs that were needed. I didn't. When I put a tenant in the house, I don't hear from them. And my girls don't hear from them much either. Because we have an ironclad agreement up front, signed in front of an attorney, and no secrets. They know it's non-refundable deposit, and they know they're responsible for the repairs. Now, I do. If I'm that's a sweat equity deal, incidentally. I lowered the price somewhat, and that's right in the agreement. Why are they responsible for the repairs? Because you might be thinking the landlord is responsible, and you'd be thinking right, unless, of course, the tenant and the owner have a different agreement. And I have an agreement that says I'm lowering the price because it needs some work, and they're responsible for doing any of the work. So stay with the old man. The old man's done been through the ringer for you. Okay. How long does it take to get cashed out? Never, I hope. I hope nobody ever cashes you out. Then you can just keep on getting the golden eggs out of the goose. I'm going to tell you right now, most people move out somewhere between 2 and 4 years. And now you get to go out and get another big old deposit and start all over. Probably have higher rents for sure, which is a bigger spread because your payment's not going up. And just keep the machine going. And I'll tell you, if you're somebody here watching today because you want a retirement, you suck at your retirement right now, it will not take you long. Once you get your head in the game and get properly trained and get to work and generate leads, it won't take you long to get a nice portfolio of houses if that's what you want to do. And just remember, that income's coming in no matter what you're doing. Coming in every month. You can be in Hawaii. You can be dead, and it still comes in every single month. That's called residual income. That's my favorite kind, because that's what's going to make you feel financially free, not having a bunch of equity. Money in the bank and monthly cash flow without doing anything is your goal going forward. So I killed a golden goose. Here's what I would have lost if I'd have sold that. They bailed out on me in 2 years. 2 years, they called me up and said they were moving. And I said, "Oh, are you sure?" I said, I offered them another year with no cost. No, we're moving. Okay. When will we be out? We'll be out at the end of next week. And they were. So I put it right back on the market and out there on the lease purchase. And got $395 out of it. It took a while now. It took 2 months to get that $50,000 down. So don't overestimate how easy that is to get. But remember, it took 2 months only because it was a $500,000 house, and I didn't want it. I want a big deposit. I've learned to wait. The market will speak, and you'll be surprised how much people will pay and how much they'll pay per month if you let them and not try to second guess for them. Let them decide what's best for them. She asked me, I guess I'm not going to get my deposit back, am I? I said, yeah, you're right. You're not. By the way, did I make her move? Nope. I had nothing to do with her decision to move. I kept my promises. I did everything that I said I was going to do. It's them that decided to move. You keep that in mind, because I know some of you Christians feel like you're taking advantage of someone. Nothing could be further than the truth. I'm giving them the advantage by letting them live in a house that they can call their own for several years before they have to go qualify for a loan, which they don't ever have to qualify if they don't want to. And it's up to them to take and ball and run and win it from there. It's not my fault if they don't do anything to get their credit cleaned up or whatever the problem is. So I'm not taking advantage of them. I'm giving them a great opportunity. It's up to them, take it or don't take it. Here's the numbers. Let me get through these. Paid $351 for it by just taking over the debt. The seller got nothing. Today's value, last time I checked, was about $707. So I have made $350,000 in appreciation by doing nothing except having my ladies collect the rent and make the payment and waiting and not selling everything I get my hands on. Now, you know, I'll admit I sold a lot of stuff in the meantime, but when you got an asset like that producing that kind of money for you, no, I didn't expect it to double. And well, actually I did, because I spent 10 years and it did double. And most any property will double in within 10 years, unless you really have a terrible economy. $62,000 would have been the net cash flow, which is $575 a month. I would have saved $80,000 in taxes because of depreciation. Do not sell that word short, okay? When you get to making upper money, you know, and you're in the topper percentage of the people that are making a lot of money in this country, you're going to have to pay attention to Uncle Sam, because he is not going to ignore you. And what I don't want you to do, I see some people doing, they go out here and they grab onto the business and then they start making a ton of money. I've seen, in fact, I got a mentor that went from a $29,000 a year job to a millionaire the second year after he came to me. In fact, he's one of our mentors now. His name is Clayton. He was a preacher. Okay. Okay, I said that loan balance was $351. It's $260 now. That's $91,000. If that house were to cash out, that's $91,000 in my pocket, just because we made the payment every month. Here's the gain on the house. That was 9 years, actually more than that now. Now think about it. All of you that are saying to yourself, I wish I could do this business, but I just don't have the money. Well, we're going to get to that here right now. No credit, no money. That's not true. I paid closing costs, which you can put on a Visa. No repairs, and I mean none. No realtors, they weren't allowed. No banks, no costly entanglements. Isn't that your way of running your business? You might even want to take a photo of that, because now when you start doing something stupid like guaranteeing a debt, remember, smack yourself on both sides. Don't let me know about it though. You come and let me know that you guaranteed a loan, I'm going to put you up in front of the class and embarrass the hell out of you. I dare you. All right. What's missing here? Do you remember that $50,000 I got up front? You know, that makes my total. No, I didn't get $645 in cash because I haven't sold a house. And that's the whole point. I still own the house and it's still generating golden nuggets for me. I hope I never sell it. I'm not going to put it on the market. So, you know, tenant buyer is the one that's got to buy it. And think with me for a second. If I'm putting a tenant buyer in a house, I don't know whether to say this or not. I get to choose who I want in the house. And contrary to everybody's belief, I want the buyers that have enough income to make sure they can pay the debt. But I also want the buyers that can't qualify for a loan and probably never will. That's ugly. I'll give them plenty of chance. By the way, if they don't buy by the end of the second year, I don't move them out. I just don't even notify them. And I'll let them stay there as long as they're paying the rent. Like I got one now. It's been about, I can't remember, about 8 or 9 years. And they're still in the house. And we haven't even discussed that their option expired yet. I don't want to make a big deal out of it. Okay, I'm happy. Just keep paying my house off. I'm happy. And so think about that. That's on $500,000. And even that's $400,000 house, for crying out loud. $400,000 house. All right, let's move to this one. Showed it to you yesterday. We just bought that last month. This is $525,000 house, beautiful area. There's a pond right behind it. And I know it's worth 525 because we had the appraiser go out and appraise it. All right. And we purchased it for 440 with 100% seller financing. 100%. And by the way, that's the number that came out of her mouth, is 440. We put zero down. Zero down. The payment is it's $2,500 and some odd dollars, PITI a month, because we're just paying the payment they weren't paying. Condition was excellent, but I did pay $5,100 in closing costs. Oh my, I can't do these deals. I don't have closing costs. Yes, you do. His name is Ron LeGrand. Okay. Once you get to my quick start school, you can partner with me on any deals you want to partner with me on. If it takes money and you don't want to partner with me, if you just need somebody to talk to, because our mentoring service does that for you. You're with them for 6 months and they're all players. They all do what they teach. So you cannot turn away a deal that makes this kind of money because you have to come up with $5,000 for closing costs. Come on. This is why I started partnering with students. They'd let deals like this go away. That'd be incredibly dumb. Look, 440, I got $85,000 worth of equity in this house the day I took title. It's only going to get bigger from there. Because every month that debt goes down, 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 down. And yes, I did spend $5,100, but I got back $50,000. Or I'm going to get back $50,000. So keep that in mind. I don't mind if you put out some money. What I do mind is if you don't get it back within a few weeks. I have no problem putting up money, but I do have a problem putting up money that's going to sit there in that house until it's sold years in the future. I will not bury money in houses, which is worth you thinking about. I wrote the check. If you don't have money, you can put on a MasterCard. If you don't have money, you can get your neighbor or family member to loan to it or put them in a deal in some way. I would never condone you giving somebody half the property for a lousy $5,100. No way. You just remember, you're the strength of this so-called partnership. They don't know how to do what you do. They don't know how. You make the rules and you stick to the rules. They should be begging you to get in. Most I'd give them is a couple $1,000 plus the $5,100 back when we got the non-refundable deposit. Not when we sold the house. When we put a tenant buyer in the house and get the non-refundable deposit. Okay, that's when you can pay back anything you borrowed from somebody else and give them a premium. If somebody puts up $5,100 and get back $6,000, that's a hellacious rate of return right there. So lease option, that's what it's going to go for, 529.9. NROD stands for non-refundable option deposit. And rent is going to be, it's going to be closer to $3,500. And my payment's $2,500. That's a golden goose, my friend. You need as many of those as you can get, as long as you don't guarantee debt along the way. Might want to even take a picture of that screen if you want, so you don't forget all of the income streams on that one house. We haven't even talked about forfeited deposit. What happens when one tenant moves out? I know, you go out and get another one and start all over again. Now, that's what I was going to do with that house I just showed you. They moved, and then my executive assistant asked me, he said, listen, I'd like to rent that house. And I said, do you have $50,000? She said, no. Okay. But I put her in a house. She's been in it now 7 or 8 years, paid the debt way down, takes care of the house, and I don't have to worry about it. So, yes, I did give up that second $50,000 deposit, but it'll all come out in the wash. That's Ron's rule. Yep. Buy for cash, sell for cash. All right. Now, this is a make-believe house. This is not a real house. I want to share some numbers with you. I say that the ARV is 300, which is which is about what most of the houses in the lower income, lower price ranges here, somewhere in 250 or 300. Remember, our average house sold here is just under $300,000, and that changes every year. So I say the house is going to sell for $300,000. I pay $160 for it. That looks like we're going to make a lot of money, don't it? But it needs $50 in repairs. So now I'm into it for $210,000. Still good. At least it looks good. However, I'm going to wind up having to pay $3,000 in closing costs. Okay, it's a miracle. All these numbers lined up and they're even. No, this is a sample, not a real house. But there are real numbers on it. And let's say it takes me 6 months to get out of it. Don't forget, taxes accrue during that time. And you're going to wind up paying them because they're going to come out of the closing statement. Insurance. Ain't no way you're going to insure that house anywhere near around here for $1,000 for 6 months, but we'll just put the $1,000 on there. And then maintenance. All houses need maintenance. Grass has to be mowed. Somebody has to go out and check for the lockbox on a regular basis. Their utilities have got to be on before you sell it, and all that adds up quick. That's in some areas faster than other areas. I remember Texas. Texas is a very high tax state. So my tax issue of $2,000 over a 6 month period may not be enough. Of course, there's other municipalities all around the country have their own rules. You just got to learn once, okay? And then you can apply it to the next deal and the next deal. For example, you should figure out, how do they figure out my property taxes on this house? And they're going to do it by the assessed value. And in fact, that's the only use you've ever got is for that assessed value on tax rolls. Never is it going to be correct. Sometimes it seems to be close. Most of the time it's way, way off. You can take a look at that. But keep in mind, when you buy it, those taxes are going to go up because they're using a new price now. And it might take them a year to two to adjust the tax rolls to that effect. So all I'm saying is look at these things with reality, not through rose-colored glasses, because these expenses are going to be there whether you had it or not, whether you forgot it or not. It's irrelevant. They're going to be there. But you get that closing statement with all that crap on there you didn't even know exist that they stick on the seller, which is what you got me for. Okay. If I see this thing and you want me to, I'm going to call the closing agent myself and have them come to Jesus meeting with them. Say, why'd you put that fees on there? It's not on the contract. Listen to their feeble excuse. Oh, no, I'll take them off. Well, good. That means you can read the contract. I swear I don't know where they get these folks. Some of them better help at Popeye's Chicken. All right. So here's the second page of these things. Now, I'm assuming you're going to borrow $210,000 on this house, which is exactly what you need to buy it and fix it. And you might even be a little short because you're not going to exceed 70% loan to value ratio, which is what this loan is. 210 loan on a 300 house is 70% loan to value ratio. So let's say I borrow money at 15%, I say 8%. Yeah, 8%. And if I borrow 210 at 8%, that's 8% if it's out there a year. Okay. I'm only figuring it's about a half a year. So I figure it $8,400. And of course, that's just a guess on just real estate taxes. Again, that's going to vary everywhere you go. Realtor commission. I pay my realtor 5%. So does my friend Jay Connor. And 6% is going to come to $18,000. Now, I'm reasonably certain that's the first thing you're going to want to try to save is the realtor's fee. And I don't blame you. That's a lot of money. That money could go in your pocket. But I'll bet you'll eat up some of it just in the time it takes the realtor to sell it and the time it takes you to sell it. So look, what if we adapted the frame of mind that we let other people do what they do best and we get out of the way and do what we do best? Okay. Well, I've sold a lot of houses where we were responsible for sifting through all of these customers and figuring out who's going to qualify, who's got enough money to pay the closing costs and down payment. And I swore I'd never do that again, and I'm not going to do it again. That's a big burden on your whole business. And yes, you can avoid it, but you need to get your ducks in a row if you're going to be taking those calls on those houses. You need to have a script. Now, I got a script in my boot camp manual here, but it's designed if I'm selling to a lease option tenant buyer. There's another script in here. There it is if you haven't seen it. That is for selling, for handling lease option customers as well. Either way, look at that. If you take this page and this page, it comes up to $89,400 cost on this house. 89 grand on this $300,000 house, including and that does not include the purchase price, of course. So let's see what happens. Sell it for 300, purchased it for 160. All my costs were 89.4, profit $50,600. Now, I want you to look. If the ARB is 300 and you needed, you bought it for 160 and repairs were 50, okay, there's 210 in it. And you're only going to net $50,000 on this house. You got a $90,000 spread, but don't forget all those costs. Okay, you watch television and they bought it for X and they repaired it and they put them two together and then they subtract it from the sales price and all the rest is profit. All the rest is not profit on any rehab. And new investors jump right in and they don't realize all these costs. So it might pay you to come back and look at my manual if you're going to rehab a house, because you're not careful and you're going to be doing it for free if you pay too much. I told you yesterday, the safety is not in your repairs. The safety factor is in your offer. And you wouldn't see me making an offer of 160 if I see these numbers. And so you might say, what would you offer? And the answer to that is, I'm gonna make up my mind depending on the area that the house is in. By the way, this one's in a weak area. That's why we're having trouble selling it. We'll get it sold. We renovated that house, incidentally. We renovated it. It's still nobody's dream, I hope. Somebody will buy it, though. I can remember a time when I'd have bought it back in the day when we were living in an apartment with roaches coming out of the walls and huge heat bills in the winter. And it was in Ohio. And every single day we had to go to the grocery store 3 times a week because we could afford 1 week's worth of groceries at a time. So I'll never forget all that. I don't ever want to go back, but I won't forget it either. And that kind of keeps me a little bit humble when I start thinking about what it used to be like. So I want $100,000 spread between the SR and the cost of buying it and repairing it. So I'm selling this thing for 300. I overpaid if I paid 210. I wouldn't pay 210. Neither would any good rehab, because they know what these costs are in the middle. So if I pay 210, if I paid, paid 160 for it, didn't we? I paid 160, but I'm still only going to net about my minimum, and that's 50 grand. Most people would look at that and say, man, 160 is worth 300. I'm going to make a killing on this house. No, you're not. Okay. Don't forget all those other expenses. So Jay Connor and I and hundreds of my students out there know better than to pay the Mayo. Now look at here, that's maximum allowable offer. This is a 175 house, pretty cheap one for Jacksonville. Repairs are 48, but we figured it's going to take 50 to rehab it, and it would have. Sold a contract for 85,000. Well, look at the Mayo. The maximum allowable offer was 72.5. If the maximum allowable offer was 72.5, did we do real good paying 48 for it? Say yes, Ron. We netted 37 on it, and $10 deposit. Never touched the house. Never touched it. Just sold it where it sits. And the buyer is going to do well. We sold it to him for 72.5, and the house worth about 175. So he's going to have about 2.25 in it, give or take, plus all those other costs that I just went over with you. $10 deposit. Do you think you could convince your accountant that you put up $10 and got $37,000 back? He's going to ask you, what are you doing? Is it legal? And the answer, of course, is perfectly legal. So the stuff you learn in my boot camp, most people just don't have any idea of. And that training stays with you for life, incidentally. For life, it'll serve you very well when it comes to anything that has to do with not only real estate, but even mastering your conversations with people. You get more of what you want. And I'm going to open your eyes up to what that's worth to you. All right, let's see the Mayo on this one. It was $121, and I bought it for $60,000. I needed $40 in repair, and it was worth $230. I probably should have renovated that one. No, I shouldn't have renovated it. Look at my net profit down there, $52,000, and I didn't lay a hand on the house. $52,000 by wholesaling it. So why would I want to renovate it? I'd make a few more bucks out of it, no question about that. If I paid $60,000 for it, and I spent $40,100 I'd have in it, and it sold for $230. So I'd probably make, I don't know, $60,000 to $70,000 on it if everything went okay over a 6-month period, which is another deterrence. Now look, it sounds like I don't want you to rehab houses, but that's not true. First of all, let's do them one at a time. Don't let them stack up on you. Second of all, don't be in a big hurry. Before you start spending money on repairs, go back and study what these repairs should cost you and see what they're giving you a bid for. One of the things you're going to learn at the Quick Start School is how to handle contractors, because believe me when I tell you, they're going to slice and dice you if they know you don't know anything about what repairs cost. They truly are. Their bids are going to come in high, and some of them you're going to get to lower the bids, and some of them you're not. I don't blame them. You know, if I'm in business, I want to get the highest dollar I can as well. They're not going to get it on me. That's all. I know what this stuff costs. I proved it over and over and over. About 3,000 houses. Think about that. 3,000. And that's really not true because I quit counting probably 6-7 years ago. I don't care anymore. All right. Remember what it looked like? Beautiful. That is beautiful. In fact, it even smelled like cat urine. I love cat urine. I love roaches and I love mold. God, I love mold. And I love junk because all these things are so easy to fix. All that junk is 2 men and a big dumpster in about 3 or 4 hours. That's all it is. Write the check. That's all there is to it. It's all part of your cost of repairing it. All right, look at the R on this one. Let's see how this one I came real close. This one I overpaid for. Mayo was $167 and I had to pay $202. Yeah, and I still overpaid and I still netted $27,000, $28,000 on it. Okay, this is fun. Taking something and making it worth a lot more money and doing what most people have no idea that you're doing. I have never seen the inside of that house. We netted 15. That is not much, but I can tell you right now, we wouldn't have net that much if I'd have wound up rehabbing it and selling it. The repair, yeah, very seldom you're going to find a house today in the lower end of this market that it only costs $35,000 to renovate. Didn't touch this one either. Never seen this one inside or outside. I didn't even know we had $120,000 houses down here until Adel and I started. He's doing actively working the business. I thought they were all higher than that nowadays. So there's 5 of them. No, the reason I'm using this 5 is because I already got PowerPoints of them made up, so I don't see any need to change them. I hope the point's there. You get the point. Your safety is in your estimate, not in your repair cost. But you need to know your repair cost so you can determine what you want to pay for the property. Got to look at it like your buyer is going to look at it. You know, what am I going to have to spend on this house to get it up and running? And these little low-end houses like this will sell as fast as you put them on the market. if you're going to wholesale. You've never seen a quicker and an easier sale than with a wholesale. So simple. All right. Would you rather make 35 to 50 on a quick flip with no money or risk and get paid within 30 days, or take 6 months to get paid $58,000 if you're lucky? High risk. You got to raise the money to buy it. Private lender. You got to hire a contractor, probably fire the contractor, hire a new contractor, and then hire a realtor to sell the house for you, and deal with the lower income people. See, like I just showed you last two houses, you ain't going to get anybody with a lot of money to move into those two houses. You're dealing with lower income people. They need, well, I told you, we got 15,000 out of one and 13.5 net out of that one, and 15.3. Sold it, purchased it for 79, sold it for 99. Why on earth? Oh, I don't know why, but we never touched that house. I bet you that's wrong. I bet you that net's even higher than it looks. Here's one you can write down. If you would live in the house, you're in the wrong neighborhood. You got to go where the money is. The money is in the low income junkers in the rehab business. Now, look, I'm not saying there's no rehabs out there on $500,000 houses, because there are, but they're far and few in between, because generally people that own them can bail out of any kind of trouble. They can raise the money to do the repairs as they go, because they're making more money. The more money they make, the less problems you're going to have with them anywhere along the line, including paying the rent. Remember, if my tenant buyers don't pay the rent, they forfeit their deposit. They forfeit it. It's right in the agreement. And if they've forgotten that, I point it out to them again. So that's why I don't have any problem with tenants. I mean, I hear horror stories all the time about tenants. I go to these mastermind groups, all the real estate investors, and they're whining about tenants and all that. I love tenants, as long as they're tenant buyers and they're giving me $1,000, thousands of dollars to get in the house. I love them. There was a time I had 200 Section 8 tenants. I didn't love them. They made my life miserable. Always want something. Always got to have something to fix. And you can't pass the repairs on to a tenant buyer. You got to fix this stuff. And then the rent was reasonable. The rent was about as much as I could get in the market, but I couldn't get no thousands of dollars deposit. And then I had to do the repairs on these lower end houses. And I got tons of stories I can tell you about when I was handling my houses. Let me see if I got that time or not. Yeah, I got a little bit, not much. One time I lost my train of thought. Sound like Joe Biden, don't I? One time I had a tenant qualified for a loan, totally qualified for the loan. 2 days before the closing, he came home drunk and she shot him in the stomach. That was the end of that deal. I asked her, you think we could go up to the hospital and get him to sign some papers? No, I didn't really ask her that. I should have. See how she reacted. Man, I can't tell you. Another time we were just a few days away from closing, and they went down the street and bought another house with my package. See, I did all the verifications. They can use them on another house if they want to. I mean, story after story after story of trying to rehab and retail houses and you handling the sale yourself. I am thrilled to pay my realtor 5% to take all of that off my back. I don't want to mess with it. So the safety factor, the word safety has been missing. Safety factor is in your how low you buy it, not in your repair cost. You're never going to be right on repair cost. I renovated at least 1,000 houses and I ain't even right on one of them. But I'm close enough to know how to plug that in to make my offer. And the lower I buy it, the less I have to worry about anything, because there's plenty of room for slack. Maybe the price is too high, or maybe you get repairs that we didn't see and they cost more. And you buy it right, you buy it cheap enough, and you won't worry about those things. Now I'm going to tell you, you're not going to get deals like those through the MLS. I work with the MLS. Every day I get houses coming to me, and most any realtor can set you up with the same. Just tell them you want an automatic feed of houses and give them a parameter. Come on your phone every day. And I did buy, I know of two. I think I bought 3 houses last year through the realtor. None of them were a great deal. They were just an okay deal. You're going to get your great deals working with FSBOs. And if you're looking for junkers, you got to get down below the median price home where you live. That's where they're at. Let's go back to my pretty house. Okay, there's the numbers again. 385, 351, 1925 payment. And there's the numbers where I sold it. This is shows that I had no, I don't have any costly entanglements, and I netted $595 plus the deposit, which brought it up to $645,000. And that, now look, I haven't sold a house yet, so that's just a hypothetical. I haven't sold it yet, but I've at least optioned it, and I still own it, so I can easily peg these numbers. I do them all. So should you. Wholesale, terms, and rehabs. And then you're a well-rounded investor, and you don't throw deals in the trash that could make you money, but you don't know how. That's also why you need a mentor to help you save you from throwing a lot of deals in the trash. But you can't find pretty houses without getting ugly houses, and vice versa. So I want to become your transaction engineer. The minute you graduate from the 4-day boot camp called Quick Start Real Estate, you are eligible to send the papers to me, as I said to you. I will quickly look them over and give them right back to you. Make sure you put a copy of the closing statement in there as well, if you can. I really need to see that and see if that stuff is really on your contract, on your side. The last closing I had, she had $1,500 worth of crap on my side, which belonged on the other side. So we called her up and said, "Whoa, girl, you got his closing costs on me. Go back and do this again." And we explained to them what she made. I don't know how they can have people in a title company can make those kind of mistakes. I really don't. Where do I get the money? Yeah, we've been through this one. Where do I get the money for what? Okay. Also, do you need money? Well, okay. I call a few thousand in closing costs. I don't call that money. And that's not, private money is not for that anyway. Private money is to come in and buy the house. So I'm talking about mortgage money. Any money you get there's a mortgage on the house for. And again, both of those houses were nothing down, so all I got to do is pay closing costs. And I don't even ask. I see teachers telling their students, even when I don't get any money out of it, I'm going to ask the seller to pay the closing costs. Well, I'm not. Okay, I'm not going to buy it if there isn't plenty enough in it for me. But, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. If I'm getting me a house, I'm paying all the closing costs. And an ongoing relationship will be good, and they won't be thinking about it later. Thinking, he gypped me. I couldn't deal with him. Bigger question is, why do you need the money? Do you need the money for closing costs on terms? Yes, and perhaps a small down payment. Do you need money to wholesale houses? No. $10 ain't money. Do you need money to rehab houses? Yes. The rehab houses is the only time you're going to be borrowing private money. So I can't tell you how many people are not getting in this business because they think they don't have the money. Don't need money. I didn't have money when I started. I can tell you that. I didn't have money at all. I was working day to day, working hard 6 days a week, just barely getting by. Had to buy groceries 2 or 3 times a week. Couldn't buy them in one time. You know what? We were very happy though that we had that big old ugly apartment. It was now our home. Didn't take us long to get out of that one. But take a look at the immigrants coming over here. They're coming over here with the clothes on their back. Tuned back into many of them a few years later. Now they're making a lot of money, and some of them even getting very, very wealthy. The difference in attitude. That's all it is. Difference in the attitude. Make a fortune if you never rehab a house. And that's true. That's so true. How do you find tenant buyers, you say? You were saying, right? Okay. Well, you run ads. That's all you need to do, especially online in the any group that you're part of that's in your town. You can run ads in anything you can find to run ads in, even including the ones you have to pay a little bit of money to place the ad. Craigslist and the Facebook Marketplace is probably going to be your number one source. Then there's Zillow, and then there's Craigslist, and you don't have to worry about even finding them because our VAs will put them all over the place for you. They'll put them everywhere. They got a whole list of places they're going to put these ads for you. You do have to write the ads, which no big deal. In fact, they're going to look just like this, pretty much. And I'm going to tell you, the more you try to cram on here, the less they're going to be able to read it. All right, yeah, there you go. Take a picture of that. I'm going to hold it up for you right there, right now. Now, what is going to attract attention from the person going by? Answer: the unique selling propositions, which are lease purchase, no bank qualifying. That's what draws them to you. That's why they're calling you. Remember, about 70% of the people who want to buy a house cannot qualify to buy a house. So you got them all yourself. And I challenge you today or tomorrow, whenever, just take a look at what's available on a lease purchase in your city. It'll be skinny. Okay. You got the whole market to yourself on nice houses, especially. You won't put more than 2 or 3 people through that house and you're going to have your buyer. I'm going to go over that process in just a minute. Got to tell you this. When you're only going to get customers 2 ways. They're either going to call on the phone or they're going to come on your website and check out the house, on which your website needs to have a place for them to put their contact information and what house they're looking at. It's about the same thing. And Pat Live's going to ask them. It's just a very short script. They're also going to ask them, what's the most you can put down? What's the most you can pay per month? And that's really all I care about. Okay. So with Pat Live's taking the call, they're going to take it and get it right to you by email or text. And now it's up to you to get a hold of a customer. However, if you're trying to sell a $300,000 house and the guy's got $1,000 to play with, I'm not really sure why I want to get a hold of him, but it ain't going to hurt putting him on the buyer's list. Because as you get these calls, you're going to put them on your buyer's list, which will soon become the most valuable asset in your business. And again, our VAs will do the work that they can do for you, but they can't go out and check your logbox on your house. Go to ronlegrand.com/Pat Live now. Because if you do, your scripts are already done for you. You just got to plug in your phone number. Pat Live will give you 6 phone numbers. 6 phone numbers in your area. I might add. Got you, showed you. Put a sign in the front yard. Frankly, that is all we do. Put this sign in the front yard, perpendicular to the house now, so I can see it from coming from any direction. And notice how big the letters are. I mean, and notice how uncrowded it is. So they can definitely see this. Now, I said don't use caps, but they did it here. But at least I can instantly know what it says. I still would use initial caps only, like the second line, no bank qualify. And I can't prove it, but I know that the more crowded your sign is, the less people are going to react to it. And incidentally, that's a professional sign Adel had made up. It don't have to be a professional sign. It can be handwritten as long as the letters are fat enough that they'll attract the eyeballs. Handwritten seems to outpull all of the factory signs. I think it's because they just draw their eyes to the sign to figure out what it says when they can see it's written. And it's not factory printed. So I put one side in the front yard, and then I have the VA put it all over the internet. Now, drive calls to you. They will ask you, or I mean, you're going to ask them how much they had to put down and what's the most they can pay monthly. Now, why did I say drive calls to you? Pay close attention to this one. This sign is going to have a different number than anything else. Picture this: you got a house for sale, and if somebody comes up, drives in your driveway, and looks in the house but can't get in it, and so they pick up the phone and call that number. You should have somebody on the other end of that phone immediately with your number, because when somebody's sitting in front of the house, I don't even want them calling Pat Live. All right, I want them calling you direct. Now, when you're not available, you forward it to Pat Live. Got no choice. But I want the ones that are, look, they're sitting in front of it. They already looked through the windows. They're eager. They're hungry. They're ready. In their minds, probably already think they bought it. So you take that call yourself, and you're probably going to get qualified leads from it. Can't promise you that. And by the way, one of these steps was putting the lockbox on the house to begin with. Okay, you can get them a little, they're about $35 now. I use 4 zeros. 4 zeros. I can remember that. And it worked for me. Still works this very day for me. All right. Even Pat Live will ask how much they had to put down and what's the most they can pay monthly. That's the two most important questions right there. So then you call the buyer with the money and give them the lockbox code and fill out a simple application. Or while you got them on the phone, if they sound like somebody you would lease option to, at that point, you give them the address of the house. Do not publish the address of a house that's vacant unless you are trying to find some squatters and some immigrants that need a place to live. Never put the number of the house in the ad. Put the area of the house. I'm sitting here right now in Mandarin. Mandarin is a suburb of Jacksonville. Mandarin is not a city, just tags on to a city. So the subdivision where that house is, pretty much everybody would know where that is. And I don't do anything else to the sign other than that. I want it easy to read, remember. But I always like that black on yellow. That's all. I've always liked those color combinations. All right. So you send the buyer out to the house, or they're already there, and they go through the house, and they dream together, and they love the house. When I give them the code on the phone, I always say, please put the key back, and if I were you, I'd get out there as fast as you can, because I'm being blasted with phone calls, and you will be. When Adel said here day before yesterday, he was at 120 some odd calls. So he's now following up on them. All right. So if buyer goes and they like it, and you know what they say they got down, and you like what you hear, it's time for you to make an appointment at some place to sit down and talk to them. And if they've already told you how much they can put down, but you need to. I get a $2,500 deposit. Period. They bring the rest at the closing. $2,500. They say they don't have the $2,500. What does that tell me? That means they don't have the $20,000 either. So one of the questions I'm going to ask them is, do you have the funds to close? And which is right on your script. Yeah, you got a script for buyers too. Another one, are you ready to close? And I don't know, several questions on there. Can't think of it right now. One of them is, are you calling for you or someone else? A lot of people will call for somebody else. In other words, you're wasting your breath. You're not going to sell a house to somebody that has to have somebody else call you. Yep, there's a form on there that they fill out if they're interested, and they send that to you, and you supply try to get them on the phone. Because you're not going to get this house sold unless you talk to the buyer. $2,500 is my fee. I tell them right up front, I'm going to need a $2,500 deposit if I accept you. And if they come back and say, well, I don't have that, well, then how are you going to get the other 20,000? You can save a lot of money by pre-screening up front in advance by asking simple questions you need the answers to. So we meet. Now, where do we meet? I have an office next door, so that's where I would meet. I've done a lot of deals in McDonald's and other fast food places. I mean, you look right there. They are. They're heated or cooled, and we might as well even grab a bite there. I try not to go out to the house with a prospect that says they love the house, okay? Because A, it's a needless trip for me. I'm gonna make them come to me, and B, if I go out to the house and they're there and they find something they want done, I'd rather not them mention it to me. Do it themselves. So it ain't going to kill anybody if you go to the house, and if you feel uncomfortable going anywhere else, that's okay. I just have the bad habit of not going to the house. A lot of trips back and forth. By the way, you notice we don't show houses. We send them to the house and give them the lockbox code. What else do they need to know that they don't already know, except down and monthly? I don't need to show them what a toilet looks like. I assume they already know the answer to that, and I don't even want to be there. I don't like meeting anybody anywhere because I'll be on time, but that doesn't mean they're going to be on time. So I just let them in. But Ron, ain't you afraid they're going to steal stuff? What stuff? The house is vacant. Okay. It's got a Ranger refrigerator in it. They ain't going to steal that. And by the way, when I put one on the market, I go to the neighbor and tell them I'm going to lease option this house out next door. And right away, I'll know if they got anybody that would be interested. And then I say, listen, with all the vandalism going around now, if somebody backs a truck up into this driveway, would you give us a call immediately? Yeah. In other words, I got the neighbors watching the house now, and they will call you too. Okay. Anyway, think of this system here. I generate leads from ads and sign. They go to a answering service to answer, except the ones in front of the house. They come to you. You guys get together over the phone, and I got a buyer's schedule in my book for my Quick Start School. So I get on the phone, I find out how much I got to put down and how much I can pay per month. And then I decide right there whether I want to send them to the house or not, which also eliminates a lot of traffic that's never going to buy the house. And if I like what I hear, by the way, I learned quickly that whatever they say they got down is a lie. They got more. They just don't want you to know it. In fact, my house I showed you a while ago, the $351,000 one, that call came in to Tish, and she asked him, what's the most you put down? They said 20 grand. And then she said, I know he ain't going to take that. He's already turned down more than that. So what's the most? They said we could go up to 50 grand. She said, okay. So she calls me and said, I got a couple that's got 50 grand. I said, you call them up and tell them their loan is approved. I didn't know that for sure, but I had to check them out a little bit first. But when somebody tells you got $50,000, you bust your hump to get that money because that money is in the wrong bank account. There needs to be a transfer right into mine. So they're going to get my utmost attention before they go somewhere else. All right. All right. Come to the meeting. We agree upon everything. I don't get them sign a contract. I just take a yellow pad out and put on the numbers, down payment, monthly payment, anything the attorney knows to fill out the lease option agreement, which is on our site and in your manual. And I send them to the attorney. And sometimes I pick up phone and call them. And I say, when can you close another lease option agreement with my buyer? We set a time right there. Now, I like them going and sitting in front of an attorney in an attorney's office for the intimidation factor. I want them to know this thing was done properly. And I'm not taking advantage of them because I know more about this than they do. If they're in an attorney's office, that probably doesn't come up. Not to mention, if somewhere down the line, they wanted to sue to get their deposit back, which I've only had 2 do in my whole life. I don't want both of them. somewhere down the line, they want to be a problem. Guess who's going to be my star witness if I need to have one? And that's going to be the attorney who closed the transaction. Now, he or she cannot represent me. It's conflict of interest then, but they are certainly a good witness. And by the way, your attorney comes in there and makes the judge believe we told him everything, Your Honor. And I even have a CYA letter in my manual with tenant buyers. You explained all of the facts, you agreed to all the facts, and your deposit is non-refundable if you move, and blah, 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 blah. And they signed every single paragraph. Right? So it's just a system. And I know I went through it pretty fast, but give me a break. I only had an hour and a half. Okay. I got 4 days with you if I can get you to sign up. And you might want to ask yourself, if you haven't signed up, you might want to say, why am I not going? Is there even a valid reason there? Is it money? Well, we will finance you. Is it time? You don't have to go to work if you get sick. Get sick for 4 days. So what is it? Is it sound like too much information for you? Oh, of course it is. It's too much information for everybody when they start. But day by day, you get over it, especially when we got somebody pushing you. So what is the reason? And examine it very closely. How many chances am I going to get at this? And incidentally, the price is going up on this thing next year, which is only a few days away now. So get in while you can. There's going to be a price hike in January. And then make your plans accordingly. And you'll be contacted before you come. I'm going to send you some paperwork to show you how to get leads to bring them to class. And guys, if you do that, there's a really good chance you'll get a deal there and make way more money than the whole darn thing cost you. Participate. Come prepared. And you got plenty of time. The next one is in January, about the middle of the month. And then I think we're having a virtual one the month after that, or in March, I can't remember. You get both of them. But I'm going to tell you right now, the virtual is nowhere near as good as the live event with people in the room. You miss so much. So anyway, that's up to you. Have you got the phone number up there for him, Nick? Yes?
Yes, that's up.
Okay. All right. Well, I am done for my presentation today. Look at that, man. Almost exactly an hour and a half. Let's give them 10 minutes and we'll come back and take questions.
Okay, so for the questions portion, you're going to click on the Q&A with Ron button on the left-hand side of your screen, or if you're watching on your phone, you're going to find that at the bottom. Once you get in there, it would be great if you came on and shared your camera and your microphone. That way you can talk back and forth with Ron, ask him your questions and kind of have a conversation back and forth. If you're shy, you can not share your camera and only share your microphone. Or if you're really shy, you can just type your question in and we'll read it to Ron for you. So,
hey, I'm showing my face. You can show yours.
Again, that's for VIPs only. So if you're not a VIP yet, you can sign up for that by going to ronthegrand.com/VIP. You not only get to participate in that Q&A session, you also get the recordings of the last 5 days, including the Q&A sessions, and a whole bunch of other bonuses that Ron went over this morning as well that you can find on that page at ronthegrand.com/VIP.
Okay. All right. Put up to 10 minutes, John. We'll be back.
Ron's event to me is heads and toes above any other event. He always has good content. He has good speakers that he brings in. He doesn't let just anybody come in and speak. He always has good speakers.
It's great energy. There's a lot of people motivated and a lot of people that are getting motivated. You can just tell by everyone that walks up there and speaks that they're here to help with whatever they can. So it's really exciting.
So the content is a little overwhelming at first when some of the mentors have said to us, be prepared, it's like drinking from a fire hose. They are absolutely right.
It's just chock full of so much great information, first of all, and then just to hear testimonials from others who've been doing it as well.
It's awesome. The amount of information it borders on information overload, but it is so good. Every time you hear it, you just understand it a little better.
So the live on-stage phone calls where all the mentors got up on stage. Each mentor got about 3 chances, or whoever they can get on the phone. And it was raw, uncut, live calls. Like, you know, anything can go.
You actually get to see fellow students work on properties that have the potential for you to purchase and make an incredible profit on.
Ron's an awesome guy. He's got the goods. It's not a flash in the pan kind of event. It's just rock solid meat and potatoes, good stuff all the way through.
He is so matter of fact. His teaching style is very to the point. There's no BS, but you learn really quickly that way.
He's the real deal. He's to the point, and he's been doing it for so long that it's like second nature to him. And if you just listen to what he does and what he says, then you'll do fine.
He seems sincere, he's honest, he's easy to understand. He has a sense of humor, so I enjoy his teaching.
Man, he changed my life, man, just off of the content that I've gotten, just listening to him. And I don't know too many people that can hold you in one place for 12 hours and you still be excited just listening to him.
He tells you exactly what to do, how it is. It's no baloney, you know? I like that.
Everybody is just super nice, super helpful. They want to make sure that you're getting what you're needing.
Anytime we have a question, they're there to answer it.
Everybody's so helpful, and all they want to do is see you succeed, which is very good, and it's obvious too.
This event gives you limitless potential. You owe it to yourself to come and learn what this process is, because it will open your eyes and change your life.
Just do it. I mean, save up the money. And if you're on the fence and this is something that you're interested in and you can see yourself doing, then you're absolutely right. You can absolutely do this business. It'll change your life. I believe it's changed mine.
If you're considering real estate at all, this event, you can get people that will walk beside you and help you become a success in this. 100%. You will do deals with these people.
You're gonna make it back in one deal if you're passionate about it and this is what you want to do. To me, it's like a no-brainer, you know?
Just do it. Just do it.
Quick Start Real Estate School is our staple event. It is our basic training. It is where people actually learn the art of buying and selling houses without using their money or credit. And it's the beginning of the training, but it's the training that actually launches careers, because they can leave that training and go out and start doing deals immediately. And then, of course, if they want, they can grab one of our mentors to help them for 6 months and lead them step by step through the process of getting checks. It's quite an intense event. I mean, it's 4 days long, and it's long hours because we don't end until 7:30 on the first night. But the last thing that happens on that first night is that we actually call live sellers. I mean, you hear both sides of the conversations on the phone, and we have some of our mentors call these sellers from leads that the students brought in. And of course, we have a daily feed of these leads into their Gold Club site every day, so we actually get the leads for them, call them for them so they can bring them to class. Now when they bring them to class, our mentors get on the phone and create some deals. And this is a huge benefit because some of the people who bring those leads go home with deals and literally make more money off those deals than every training we could possibly provide to them. And on the second day, the afternoon, we get into the ugly house side of the business, which is wholesaling and rehabbing and buying junkers and that whole business. We cover that during that day. And then on the third day, we actually have a brand new video now of us. A friend of mine, Jay Connor, who's renovated over 420 houses, going out into the field and going through 2 ugly houses and then through 2 houses that he's just renovated. And we go through those with a fine-tooth comb, talking about what we'd fix, how we'd fix it, what would it cost. And by the time you're through, you get a whole overview of rehabbing houses. And one of the things, of course, we addressed hard is the actual cost of what it takes to renovate a house and handling contractors and the like. We even got contractors' agreements right in the manual. The manual's about that thick, And I'm updating it constantly with the stuff you will not get anywhere else. And then on that afternoon, we talk about raising the money, private money. And then I go into some entity structuring stuff. Entity structuring is tax reduction, estate planning, because that is a part of the learning process. It's one thing to go make money, but then we have to learn how to protect it, what entities to use, how do we take title to it, and how do we set up our estate so that our stuff goes where we want it to go. And the last day is spent on selling houses on autopilot. And I do mean autopilot. Automation is built into this entire event. It's part of the learning process, and we have it all set up so when the client goes home, they're ready to do business, not have to go out and find a bunch of stuff and put it all together. And one of the really cool things we do there every single day is we take all of these property information sheets that were called during the event by our mentors, and I discuss them. So we go over them every single day on what's the next step. In fact, we even get a contract for them before they even leave to take out into the field, because literally appointments are made while they're making the calls. Then I also have Jay Connor, who comes from North Carolina and done well over 420 rehabs, but he's also the expert on getting private money from individuals, not from loan sharks. Jay helps me throughout the event as well, and they sit down with students and they work with them and they help them overcome any issues that they have, and they give them guidance and how to build their business as part of the event. You know, one of the biggest things that people get out of this is they build a big old network of nationwide relationships, because people come from all over the country when we do this live, and they get to know each other and they grab each other's information, and that creates relationships that go on for years and years and years. I've seen it happen over and over. Plus, you know, if I want somebody in LA and I live in Jacksonville, I build my list, and now I can call on that list whenever I need to. And frankly, the students get as much from the other students as they get from the teachers, because some of the people in the room are doing deals, they're doing business. Because we let people come back for free to this event as many times as they want for the first year, and very inexpensive even after that. So there's a lot of good quality people. I'm constantly updating the content of this event because things change, technology changes, and I think one of the biggest benefits is the students bring stuff to me. I learn as much from them as they learn from me, and as I learn it, I add it to the content of the class. And frankly, one of the biggest benefits of people coming to a live event is that they get to sit around and talk to the other people. And the other one is that I have full attention the whole time, and I never know what you're doing when you're watching virtual. I don't know what you're doing behind that. And we can't have any fun. I can't tell jokes because I can't hear anybody laughing. We've discovered that people learn 3 times more at a live event, and they'll have a whole lot more fun at a live event than they will ever have at a virtual event. But going forward, we will still be doing virtual events, and we'll have live events mixed in. And the good news is that once you attend a virtual event, you can come to a live event at no charge, and vice versa. So you actually can get to experience them both, and you don't have to wait for a live event to come up. There's just a couple of things that one has to learn to crack the code to really turn this machine on and grow it as fast as they want to grow it. And frankly, you're not ever going to believe how much money can be made in real estate until you come spend 4 days with the old guy.